Out of all the video game villains I've had the displeasure of meeting over the years, there is one monstrous specimen who stands head, shoulders and tentacles above all others, and that is Resident Evil 3's Nemesis. He is an insurmountable, inescapable nightmare, a relentless presence who completely redefined what was possible from a video game horror antagonist. There are several reasons why Nemesis is petrifyingly perfect, and the first is his introduction. It is a masterclass in slow burn horror, which concludes with scenes of unanticipated brutality. Soon after you begin exploring Raccoon City's ruined streets as Jill Valentine, you come across Brad Vickers a couple of times, and he seems to be in something of a hurry. Not long after, you are properly reunited with him at Bar Blackjack, where he delivers a chilling warning.
Listen, he's coming for us. We're both gonna die!
What are you saying?
You'll see. He's after STARS members. There's no escape!
After which Brad promptly scuttles off again, alone, which I've never really understood. Back outside, you can cut the tension with a knife. Nothing has really changed, but Brad's unsettling message and the track The City of Ruins swelling in the background for the first time combine to foster great feelings of unease. The streets seem strangely quiet, with a few zombies and a pair of dogs the only threats left to be dealt with, and even though there's little going on, suddenly simply progressing forwards becomes an excruciating endeavour. It just feels like something big is about to happen, even if you've no idea exactly what. Fortunately, you don't have to wait long before Capcom pulls the rug out from under you. It's about as clear a demonstration of the threat Nemesis poses you could possibly ask for. Jill may be part of STARS, as was Brad, but clearly that means nothing in the face of such immense lethality, and while you can stand and fight should you so choose, fleeing as quickly as you possibly can is the only sensible option. The way the tension slowly ratchets up right to Nemesis's reveal is genuinely flawless. You're given a short period to acclimatise to the basics and gather a few items, but not long enough that you get anywhere close to being well trained or fully equipped. It makes that quiet before the storm after meeting Brad all the more unbearable, and it puts you in the same position as Jill. You are both Raccoon City veterans who are nonetheless positively ill-equipped for what's in store. That period of relative peace, stressful, worrying peace, is just enough time for anxiety to fully envelop you without the feeling ever beginning to dwindle. Nemesis then finally makes his grand entrance and delivers a statement kill that feels entirely purposeful, and from then on, you are on the run. The idea of Nemesis's actions being entirely purposeful is really important. As he towers over Brad Vickers' mutilated body, you hear him speak. And from that moment onwards, there can be no doubt that this is a foe with capabilities far beyond anything you've experienced prior. Nemesis is absolutely a beast, but he's a beast who can seemingly think, and along with his hair-raising reveal, that is another reason why he's gaming's greatest stalker. I say seemingly think because of course we know Nemesis isn't really thinking. He is not a semi-sophisticated AI like say the Xenomorph in Alien Isolation, but rather a monster born of scripting and triggers, which is completely understandable given Resident Evil 3 released in 1999. I have always said though that it doesn't matter whether a great stalker is governed by clever programming or smoke and mirrors. What matters is their impact, and in that regard Nemesis has every single one of his peers beat, including those featured in his own franchise over the last 25 years or so. Capcom's secret is a carefully curated mix of scripted sequences combined with stalking interludes which feel organic, even if that's only half true. From 3's beginning to its end, you're never far from more directed scenes involving Nemesis.
STARS. STARS.
Some feature the live selection mechanic which lets you choose how to react, while during others you're simply along for the ride, like when he causes chaos outside the clock tower. These regularly occurring big budget segments not only give Nemesis a cinematic quality, but they also make him feel like he's an entity whose actions continually and repeatedly have a direct and permanent influence on the world around you. He is not just mindlessly following you, he's using any tools he can, including a rocket launcher, to achieve his ultimate goal of killing every single STARS member. The The segments where he actively hunts you are a great complement to those. If the spectacular, story-heavy moments prove his actions are to some degree methodical, then the occasions when you are being chased ensure Nemesis still retains an air of unpredictability. While these more freeform hunts do tend to occur after scripted or cinematic moments, that isn't always the case, such as here when he appears out of the blue in an alleyway.
Stars.
It's enough that you will be constantly concerned about which corner he might appear around next or which door he may suddenly burst through. Across multiple playthroughs, you'll quickly learn how the sausage is made, so to speak, which lessens Nemesis's effect, but that's a criticism which is just as applicable to the series' modern Stalkers, who are able to roam more freely. On that note, I'm not going to spend an age comparing Nemesis to the likes of Jack Baker, Mr. X, Nemesis again, or Lady Dimitrescu in Resident Evil's newer entries, as I've already done so in a separate video. Click the card on screen now to check that out. But it is also important to very quickly highlight how wonderfully balanced the original Nemesis is compared to all of them. In my mind, it's down to two things in particular. Firstly, segmentation. Nemesis has his more streamlined, dramatic moments, but he also pursues you outside of those with alarming regularity. From his introduction to his eventual demise, you never know when you'll next come face to face with him, whether it's at street level or even from a rooftop. By comparison, Resident Evil's modern Stalkers tend to have one, maybe two segments early on when they hunt you before they're relegated to cutscenes and boss battles. They are the very definition of predictable. Secondly, Nemesis is far more mechanically interesting than any of them, as you can fight back and are rewarded for doing so. Put him down and you earn some well-deserved peace as well as an upgrade or item. In fairness, the same is true of Nemesis in 3's remake, albeit in a far more limited fashion. But other than that, the level of interactivity each modern Stalker offers is significantly toned down. And speaking of interactivity, it's easy to forget how much of a game changer Nemesis was back in 1999 thanks to one simple change, him being able to chase you through multiple areas. Resident Evil and its sequel established a rule that heading through a door or similar was enough to escape any creature, big or small, who was trying to eat your face, and Capcom deciding to throw that rule out the window when it came to Nemesis was a stroke of genius. It's a concept Capcom started playing around with in Resident Evil 2, but I don't think anyone could have predicted the brilliance those early experiments would lead to. This surprise attack at the back of the police station is so clever, as it means you're never able to relax during a door opening animation again. And they later did similar with Mr. X, with his music kicking in before you even have control. Nemesis taking it one step further then feels like the logical progression. Nothing, not the zombie's unexpected arrival nor the trick with the tyrant in 2 though, compares to the sheer terror felt as you hear Nemesis charge through a door behind you. It only happens when you change to a screen which no longer gives you a view of the door in question, presumably due to programming or animation constraints, but perhaps surprisingly, being unable to see exactly what he's doing or where he's coming from makes his arrival even more panic-inducing. All you can do is watch as he sprints into view behind you. Whether Nemesis is on screen or not, Capcom's audio-visual work is also fantastic, and another reason why Nemesis is the greatest Stalker of all time. On the audio side of things, you might think Nemesis's distinctive Stars growl or his disconcerting theme would be the headliners, and they are both great, but it's the track Feel the Tension which is the star of the show. Feel the Tension mostly plays when Nemesis is nearby, or when you've just about managed to escape him, often temporarily. And it's another extremely clever way of ensuring you're never able to properly relax. What's even smarter though is that there is also the odd occasion when it will play without the hulking monster ever appearing. I've struggled to find the exact quote, but I remember vividly reading an interview with Resident Evil visionary Shinji Mikami in which he said that the track sometimes being used without anything actually happening was a deliberate choice to keep you on your toes. It is genuinely one of my favourite things about Resident Evil 3, and the fact it even sometimes replaces the save room theme to boot is superb. How imposing a creature Nemesis is visually and the mutations he undergoes as the story progresses cannot be forgotten about either. To begin with, he is essentially an even more unnerving version of Resident Evil 2's Tyrant, clad in a leather daddy trench coat with strange organic tubes flowing out of it and sporting a face barely held together by stitches. His white, expressionless eyes also add a degree of inhumanity to a form that is, at least at its basest, a familiar one. After taking enough damage, he sheds the top half of his coat for Resident Evil 3's second half, revealing a mess of scar tissue and tentacles underneath. It's a lovely touch, as while it's clear you have managed to do significant damage to him, something to be celebrated, he becomes even more dangerous as a result. His final form is that of an angry blob, a dangerous mutation which cannot be discounted, but is also pathetic in a way compared to his once enormous stature. He is the perfect combination of 2's Mr. X during the game's early stages, but also goes to a more detailed transformation like William Birkin, showing that even this much smarter horror is unable to resist the power of the T-virus and the any alpha parasite he's imbued with. Jill takes her fair share of damage during the game as well, being infected herself for a time, but so too does Nemesis, and it really helps further the idea that the two are locking horns and slugging it out to the death through Raccoon City streets and beyond. Compared to Resident Evil's newer Stalkers, who are usually invincible, it feels like a strange battle of contemporaries, the best STARS has to offer versus the Umbrella Corporation's strongest bioweapon yet, and it's a conflict where there will only be one winner. And at last, we reach the final reason why Nemesis is gaming's greatest stalker, because he's an integral part of the story. The trick is in the name, it's not just Resident Evil 3, but Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. I'm not going to recount the game's story in exhaustive detail, but suffice to say, practically every big story beat involves Nemesis in some way, shape or form. Him killing Brad outside the RCPD kicks things off, and he's a pivotal part of both big midpoint moments, that in the cable car and outside the clock tower soon after.
It's finally over. Huh? No!
He might also kill Nikolai depending on the choices you make, and the game's climactic battle involves you eventually destroying him with a railgun. In short, he's not just a box-ticking exercise like many other Stalkers are, or a big bad who ends up being surprisingly inconsequential to the story they're featured in. He is an integral part of 3's narrative, to the point there would be much less of one without him. Honestly, that's a comment that could also apply to many facets of Resident Evil 3. Take away Nemesis and they become considerably weaker. That is not to say that the foundations upon which he treads are bad, but rather that he is such an amazing inclusion that it's hard to imagine what the game would look like without him being featured. His introduction is one of the best in gaming, combining slow burn, anxiety-inducing horror with a visceral reveal that is shocking in its brutality. He has an incredible amount of mechanical depth too, compared to any other horror antagonist, where he appears changes depending on your choices as he chases you from room to room, sometimes with rocket launcher in hand. He is also beautifully balanced, a constant threat who never becomes an annoyance, and his frightening, ever-changing aesthetic combined with Capcom's unrivaled use of sound ensures he remains nightmarish from minute 1 right through to the end credits. There have been many memorable takes on the Stalker concept over the years, but there are none quite like Nemesis. He was the first truly famous monster of his kind, and to this day remains the greatest of them all. Thanks for watching the video, boys, girls and STARS members. If you had a terrifyingly good time, do consider liking, subscribing and sharing your memories of gaming's greatest stalker, and hopefully we'll catch up again soon.